Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Some late breaking news last night as former five-star quarterback Malachi Nelson expected to transfer out of this USC program. And you saw on Twitter, you saw on the internet, a lot of fans who aren't USC fans acting like the world is falling apart out there in Los Angeles. And I think a lot of USC fans who are pretty in touch with the transfer portal and the recruiting and the roster construction of this program weren't necessarily that surprised to see this news. And that is not me getting up here and saying that a five-star quarterback after 1 year deciding to transfer from a program is necessarily a good thing. It certainly is not. And Malachi Nelson, one, wishing him the best at his next stop. Two, extremely talented quarterback. I will say this, and I think a lot of USC fans feel kind of the same way. If there's one position that I trust Lincoln Riley to manage, it is that quarterback room. And so we don't really know what was going on with Malachi Nelson. We know he was struggling with injuries. We didn't get to see him a ton as a true freshman, but Lincoln Riley has a lot more information on Malachi Nelson in his development than anyone else or even USC fans. And so you're sitting here, if you're a USC fan, saying, nah, this isn't necessarily a good thing, right? You wanted to keep Malachi Nelson in this program. But the fact that he's transferring out is not the end of the world. And I think it kind of speaks to what this quarterback room is going to look like in the next couple of months as we're obviously pursuing Will Howard out of the transfer portal. Going to talk a little bit about Malachi Nelson. Going to talk more about what this USC quarterback room is going to look like, not only in 2024, but in the next couple of years. Really excited. Before we do, just want to say thank you to you guys. Of course, a shout out to the USC fans, whether it's recruiting, whether it's transfer portal. You guys continue to show so much support to the fellas. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And more importantly for this, would love to hear your guys' takes on the situation and what you think's going on in this quarterback room, what you think the quarterback room is going to look like over the next couple of years, and just overall how you're feeling. Because there's a lot of different feelings and a lot of different takes that you could have. Let us know in the comment section. We'll chop it up there. And without further ado, let's get into Malachi Nelson. And I think the first thing that I want to talk about is this probably speaks really highly to the probability and the chance that we see Will Howard wearing a USC helmet in the 2024 year. And we'll get to Will Howard in just a sec, but I want to talk about Malachi Nelson and what might have happened for Malachi Nelson. And I'm guessing Malachi Nelson, who's been with Lincoln Riley, was committed to Lincoln Riley out when he was at Oklahoma. He expected to probably be the starter in that 2024 year, right? His second year of college football, that's normally when you see the five-star arms play. And the whole plan was, okay, Caleb Williams is last year. He goes to the NFL draft, and now it's Malachi Nelson's season. Now, what might have hindered that is, one, obviously the injuries and his lack of development and his lack of ability to practice and be in the weight room probably played a role in that development. And then two, sometimes quarterbacks just don't progress as quickly as you might expect. And that might have happened with Malachi Nelson. And again, as USC fans or college football fans in general, you don't have the information of what was going on in the practice field, what was going on in the meeting rooms. Was he understanding this offense? Was he settling into that offense? And you kind of trust Lincoln Riley to see, okay, where's Malachi Nelson in December? And the fact that Lincoln Riley had so much buzz about shopping in the quarterback transfer portal probably tells you a little bit about Malachi Nelson and where his development was as a quarterback and the potential of him being a good starting quarterback in that 2024 year. And the fact that he's going after Will Howard, he flies out to Manhattan, Kansas, then hosts Will Howard for an official visit, probably tells you that Lincoln Riley in this offensive coaching staff weren't necessarily that optimistic that Malachi Nelson was going to be the guy in 2024. So Malachi Nelson, who ends up looking at it and saying, I might not be able to find the field in 2024, probably said, all right, maybe it's time for me to go find a different program where I could maybe start as a second-year guy. And that's kind of what the transfer portal is for. So one, hoping Malachi Nelson, one, stays healthy. Two, finds a lot of success at his former program. We'll probably do a little episode on where the potential landing spots for Malachi Nelson is. But that gets us to what this quarterback room is going to look like in the future for USC. And it sounds like Will Howard is going to be the guy for USC in 2024. Many of the USC fans who have listened to me for the last couple of weeks know how big of a fan I am of Will Howard. One, you take a look at Big Ten quarterbacks, USC obviously moving to the Big Ten. Will Howard is that guy. He can take that physicality of the sport that you're going to see in the Big Ten. 6'5", 240 pounds. He is absolutely massive. But more importantly, about Will Howard is I think he's a gamer. I think he's a winner. And I think he matches the culture that USC wants to instill in this program. Tough as nails. He's a leader on and off the field, and he's a winner, right? You look at this Kansas State program and why they've had so much success the last couple of years. A lot of it came on the back of Will Howard. Going back to that 2022 year, his first, I mean, he started on and off since his true freshman year, but in 2022, when he kind of came into his own, he carried Kansas State to a Big 12 championship. And that was with not a ton of talent around the quarterback position. You put Will Howard in this USC offense with all the talent that he's going to have around him at the running back spot, in the wide receiver room, at the pass catcher room in general, you're looking at Will Howard in the prospects of him really succeeding at USC, and you're feeling optimistic about it. And the one thing that might be the knock on Will Howard is he's not as clean of a pocket passer as some of these other quarterbacks. Phenomenal at extending plays, can pick up the yards as a runner, and he's a good passer. He's not an elite passer. What the matchup and the fit that I love is Lincoln Riley has proven that he can get the most out of some of these athletic, dynamic quarterbacks. Remember when Jalen Hurts at Alabama, who, again, the knock was how good of a pocket passer is Jalen Hurts, decides to transfer to Oklahoma. He looked like a phenomenal pocket passer when he got to Lincoln Riley and Oklahoma. And so you're looking at Will Howard and saying, okay, the one knock on Will Howard is that 59% completion percentage during his career at Kansas State. We have some questions about what he can do as a pocket passer at the college football level. You feel pretty good about Will Howard getting developed into being that kind of pocket passer in this USC offense with, again, a ton of talent that is going to be around the quarterback. So you look at Will Howard and the potential progression he could have. The arm talent is not the question with Will Howard, right? 6'5", 240 can absolutely rip the football around. That's not what we're questioning. We're questioning is, can he be kind of a more consistent, accurate passer from the pocket? I trust that Lincoln Riley could maybe get him there. And if you put that together with Will Howard, kind of that last missing piece, that's what you're most excited about. And again, going back, I'm not necessarily saying Will Howard there's a reason he's the number 5 quarterback available in the transfer portal. Some people think he's even higher because he is a good pocket passer. Can he get to that elite level? You think Lincoln Riley can get that out of him, and he's going to have all the talent in the world to work around. So that's kind of what the plan is for 2024. So that makes you question, okay, why can't Malachi Nelson kind of stay the ship? You're sitting behind Will Howard in your second year, and then in that third year, you're getting on the field and you're the guy in this USC offense. Well, I guess it's not as simple as that, because you got a guy in Julian Lewis coming in who's the number 1 player in the class in 2026, the number 1 quarterback. It sounds like he's going to be reclassifying into that 2025 year. And Malachi Nelson is probably looking at it like, okay, so I'm not going to play in 2024. Will Howard sounds like he's going to be the guy. And then in 2025, the year I'm supposed to be taking over, it looks like Julian Lewis is going to be in that quarterback room as well. And maybe Malachi Nelson is sitting there and saying, I don't know if I want to play that game and have that competition. And as much as you want your quarterbacks to want that competition, I'll probably say that. And that's not necessarily me knocking Malachi Nelson, but if Malachi Nelson doesn't want to stay and wait to battle for a quarterback 1 spot in that 2025 year with a reclassified true freshman, maybe a different spot is going to make more sense for Malachi Nelson, because you're never going to get a quarterback room at USC where you're the clear starter. It's going to be a good room. You're going to have to compete for that quarterback 1 spot. And a guy like Julian Lewis, generational talent. I'm going back to his true freshman year in the state of Georgia at the highest classification, threw for over 4,000 yards, 48 touchdowns, a 65% completion percentage. There is a very good chance that Julian Lewis is a true freshman starter for USC. He's one of the more talented quarterbacks that we've seen come out of the high school level. And if he's not a starting quarterback at the true freshman year for USC, I mean, USC after next season can go to the transfer portal again and get a graduate. Miller Moss could be the guy in 2025. But at the end of the day, you trust that Lincoln Riley is always going to have a good starting quarterback at USC. I think the one concern that you might have with this whole ordeal is what the depth might look like at the quarterback room. But in terms of a quarterback 1 at this USC program, as long as Lincoln Riley's there, it's really hard to bet that you're not going to have a good starting quarterback. And I think for USC, you're looking at it and saying, all right, we are really, really high on Will Howard in 2024, not only because of the football player he is, but because of the leader and the off the field kind of guy he is, what he's going to do for that locker room as well. And then 2025, you're going to have one of the more talented quarterbacks we've seen come out of the high school ranks. And again, the concerns you might have about him reclassifying, he's played so much high school football. You don't really worry about him not having enough experience to be a true freshman starter. And even if he's not a true freshman starter, and Lincoln Riley wants to either Miller Moss or wants to go to the transfer portal in 2025, he's going to have the pick of the litter in terms of a quarterback that's going to come and play for this USC team in 2025. So you're USC. The fans outside of USC who maybe are a little less in touch with the program and what the depth chart looks like and what they're doing on the recruiting trail, they're going to act like the sky's falling. They're going to act like the sky's falling regardless of what happens at USC. If you're a USC fan, you're looking at this quarterback room and saying, we're going to be good. Yeah, as long as Lincoln Riley is the head coach of this program, you can say what you want about the defense and the physicality of the team. That's hopefully we see that improve under Lincoln Riley. One thing you don't concern yourself with is what the quarterback and what that offense is going to look like. So for USC fans, obviously Malachi Nelson transferring out, I'm not going to get up here and say that's a great thing. He's a former 5-star quarterback. A lot of USC fans were really excited to see what he could do with USC. That being said, the quarterback room is just going to be just fine for the USC Trojans. Again, appreciate you guys rocking with the boys. If y'all do have a different take, you disagree with my take, would love to hear you guys in the comment section. We'll chop it up there. Appreciate y'all. We'll talk to you guys later.